To discuss this now. Since then, in March, of course, we had new leadership coming in President Cyril Ramaphosa, and we also had that stability that came from Moody's at that time. But it's been 6 months. A lot has happened then. We find ourselves in a recession, and we've changed the finance minister. Will this affect their outlook on South Africa?
Moody's indicated during late September that they've actually changed the outlook for South Africa from negative to stable. I think what is important to understand is that they will have some form of understanding that there is a lag in positive policy implemented by someone like Cyril Ramaphosa stepping up to presidency. And then also looking at the finance Minister Nene stepping out and being replaced by Tito Mboweni, it's not really the fact that there's been a replacement, but what was crucial is who would replace Finance Minister Nene. And Tito Mboweni seems to be the obvious choice coming out of the Reserve Bank, being the ex-governor. He has a good understanding of both local and global economics.
Has South Africa done enough in terms of policy direction that we promised when the president came in, that there would be stability in that? And we've seen what's happened at Treasury now. We have a new leader at the helm at Treasury. Will they be satisfied in the way we are going about running South Africa's policy?
Although we're not expecting a downgrade, we are expecting some harsh words to come from the ratings agency. In terms of policy, there's still a lot of uncertainty, especially surrounding the mining charter, as well as land reappropriation without compensation. And those are the key elements that they will touch on. They will also look at how efficient the South African government has been in camping in fiscal spending. We've got the midterm budget speech coming up towards the end of the month, and unfortunately, we're not expecting fireworks from that either.
What would happen? I know it's outside of it right now because we are stable, but if they were to have a dramatic drop into junk status like Fitch and S&P has done, what would be the effect of that going forward for the country?
Well, basically that means that we can't have investment coming into our local bonds anymore, which could see South African rand actually decelerate quite quickly. We can see it depreciate to about 16 rand to the US dollar. And then obviously with that comes a lack of economic growth. South Africa is already struggling to maintain economic growth. We're already facing inflationary pressures as well as potential interest rate hikes, and that would be detrimental to the South African economy.
We have the mini budget coming up in a couple of weeks now, and what would they be looking for from the new finance minister, Tito Mboweni, in terms of assuring them? I know we've said this from Treasury as well, that the fiscal policy will remain the same, but what can buy us more time, at least until March next year, to show that South Africa is on a growth path?
Unfortunately, the only thing that Treasury can present is comprehensive FDI flowing into the country. We need to secure foreign investment to stimulate manufacturing and industry specifically. We are facing a fiscal cliff coming up quite rapidly, and unfortunately, if we can't clamp down on that specific fiscal spending, we are facing dire circumstances. The financial stimulus package presented by Cyril Ramaphosa, as well as the increased government wage bill, are both elements that could see us weighing down on that midterm budget speech.
There's not a lot that we can do about outside factors. We've seen the emerging market contingent that has affected South Africa throughout this year and what that has done to South Africa's currency. Apart from the stimulus package that is coming in, the new money that we are supposed to be seeing from the investment drive that the president is going on, what else can South Africa do in order to get to ourselves to a path where we are growing in terms of specifically growth as well and creating those jobs?
So unfortunately, growth and unemployment goes hand in hand. And what we need to do is we actually need to create an environment that is pro-economic growth. And by pro-economic growth, we need to look at something that's stimulating businesses, not just on a small business scale, but also looking at the greater companies who employ majority of the workers in South Africa. We need to find policy that is pro-economic growth, pro-business practices. And one of the damaging effects currently at the moment faced in those industries are labour parties coming to the market, pushing up wages that companies just cannot sustain.
One of the better promises we had around March was that there was going to be a fixing of state-owned companies. Have we kept that promise?
I don't believe we've kept that promise. I think there's been a shift in the way we're managing them, especially with Pravin Gordhan stepping in to try and manage the turmoil in these companies. But what we need to understand, the erosion of these companies took place over the period of 20 years. To try and think that we can turn that around in a matter of 6 months, it's incomprehensible to expect that from someone. So I think definitely there is a shift in the way these companies are being managed, but it will have a lagging effect.
All right, lots of work to be done. Of course, that report expected later tonight.